Hey there, my name is Livy and I'm from Crown of Beauty magazine, and we're here hanging out at the iShine office with Alexis Slifer. So we have some questions for you, which we're really excited about. First of all, if you could just share your story of how you got involved with iShine and this whole big process of touring and being on TV. You've just had a lot of experiences. So how did you get started?
Well, I was actually 11 years old, and they held an audition for an all-girls pop group.
Okay.
And I decided to come out of the blue. I didn't really do that type of thing, but I decided to come, and I got in. And I was just amazed that it even happened. I remember when I got the phone call, and I was floored. I was like sitting beside my mom at her desk, and she was like, "Alexis, you got it. Like, you're in the group." And I think I fell on the ground. So I was being really dramatic at 11 years old. But yeah, and it's just been incredible ever since then. I've loved working with iShine, and being in the Rubies with all the different girls have all been great teachers and mentors and people in my life. So
that's awesome. So through all these experiences, what do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned through just kind of being in the public eye and being on TV and stuff like that?
Yeah. I think that it really helped me to take my eyes away from myself and like drama that was happening in my life or friends back home, and it really gave me like a more worldly perspective on things. Like, there are huge things happening, and it's not just in my tiny town, because I grew up in a very small town in Ohio, and to get the perspective of so many other people even around the world was I think that's my greatest treasure from this, is just having eyes for the whole world and a heart for the whole world instead of just a tiny place.
Right. That's awesome. So what are you up to nowadays? I know that people are very curious because there's recently the new Rubies group, and you were part of the old group. So what are you doing nowadays?
Well, I actually work here at the iShine office full time, and I love it. So I've been able to mentor the younger girls.
Oh, cool.
So the new Rubies, I work with them pretty much every day. I'm always talking to them on the phone and just making sure that they're comfortable with what's going on, and because everything's very new to them.
Right.
So I work here, and I do a lot of the video editing and the site management and stuff like that, and help with the tour and the TV show and all of that stuff.
That is a huge job.
Yeah,
it must be fun though.
It is.
I know that you've always had a really big heart for missions. Do you remember a time or an experience that the desire was like first planted in your heart to start pursuing that?
Yes. I was pretty young. I don't remember how old I was exactly, but I was at a Rebecca St. James concert with my mom, and it was before the Rubies, and they had Food for the Hungry, Compassion, someone was there,
Right.
and we decided that we were going to adopt or sponsor a little girl, and she was from Cambodia, and so I wrote her letters and stuff like that, and I loved being able to talk to her and see into her life, and I worked like really hard. I would clean my grandma's house. I would do random things in order to make money to sponsor this little girl, and because it was like $30 a month or something. So I did that, and later on down the line, as the Rubies went on tour, I went on a tour with Believe, which is a tween junior high conference.
Okay.
And they had a safe house in Cambodia that they had representatives from on tour with us. And I remember the girl Nicole, and she gave this like speech every week, and they had like the purses and the bracelets and everything. And I would just pick her brain every week at every meal that we had in catering, just to learn about Cambodia. It was from Cambodia again. So somehow God just kept like putting Cambodia in my life, and it just kept growing and growing until I was just like, wow, I really need to go there. And so I think I was 15 when I truly decided that I was going to go.
That's so cool. So what do you think it is about Cambodia and about the mission field that just really gives you that spark of passion? Like, why do you think that you're so passionate about it?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's just when you look through the Word and things, just how Jesus loved people who unloved or who were the poorest or the most neglected, that's the greatest way to become like him, and which is what I want to become like, obviously. Right. And so there's just a huge need in Cambodia, and even here, since I got back from Cambodia, I figured out there's a larger need here as well. But a lot of trafficking, human trafficking, so a lot of slavery and stuff like that going on. Yeah. And it just breaks my heart to think that people would be stuck in that situation. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably the main thing.
Right, and that's kind of something that we're just recently learning about. It's really come into the public light. I know a lot of girls are getting, having the same heart that you do, like really wanting to do something about it, because it truly is heartbreaking to think that this could be happening, like right in our own community too. What is something that we can like practically do to help? Because the problem just seems so huge. Like, how can we not feel hopeless about it, and what can we do practically?
Well, I know even me, like, it's hard because I think about it all the time, and I'm just like, I mean, what can I do? I'm only one person. Mm-hmm. But with so many different people thinking, like, what can I do? I'm only one person. It creates an army, and I really believe God's rising something up because he wants to, put it into it. Yeah. But a prayer. I mean, God moves in incredible ways through prayer, and so if anyone was just praying every day and seeing things move like that, that's a huge help. And another thing is just to talk about it, tell other people about it. That way they can keep their eyes open. I know there's a couple different websites that show like red flags and things you can look for, hotlines you can call if you see anything, because it's happening a lot more frequently. Mm-hmm. Like even in high schools with girls' friends and stuff, like, a friend may get a new job and then she seems extremely tired all the time and people don't know why, and there's a lot of red flags that you can look for.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that is great stuff to know about, because I know that as the awareness is growing, so is the desire to want to do something about it. So, since our upcoming issue is all about dreams, do you think that there's a difference between, like, a God-given dream and your own desire? Because the Bible talks about delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Mm-hmm. So, I know that some people say your dreams are separate from God's dreams. What do you think? Like, are they the same thing or are they separate? And how can you even tell the difference between them?
I think it depends on the person, because I know that even when I was like little bitty, my mom just taught me to really seek after what God wanted for my life. Mm-hmm. And then the dreams that developed in my life were his. Right. So I'm sure that, like, if I had gone out and been like, I want to become famous and I want to do music because I'm so great at it or something like that, that's not his goal. I think his dreams are selfless and ours are selfish. So when I look at that verse, my mom has always taught me that if you're following and striving after God, he'll give you the desires of your heart, because the desires of your heart are the same as his.
Right.
So
that's really good advice. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So what is the scariest dream that you've had to pursue, that you had this big monster of fear, something that you had to overcome in order to do it?
Actually, when I went to Cambodia, I went by myself, and I was really scared to the point where I knew I was supposed to go, and so for like a year, or maybe 2 years, I'm not sure, but I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed because I didn't want to go on my own, and I really wanted God to just, like, fling open a door, and then I felt like he just said, why are you making this so difficult? Go. And so I was like, okay. Nice. So I got on Google, and I Googled mission trips to Cambodia, and went on the first one that popped up.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was really scary, and I remember I flew from Nashville to LA, and then LA to China, and then on so forth. But when I was in LA, my parents called to pray over me and everything, because they were in Ohio, so I didn't get to see them off. And I remember I was terrified. My dad was praying over me, and I was crying and crying, and I didn't tell him that because obviously I don't want to seem like a baby. But I was sitting in the airport crying and crying. I was so afraid. But once I got there, it was definitely worth it.
That's so cool. That is a huge thing, going across the world to follow something that God told you to. Wow. So what advice would you have for girls who have those types of desires that they're just like so scared to pursue?
I feel like for me, a lot of times, fear comes from not being in the Word enough or believing that God can truly come through. Because, and we all obviously have those moments, but when we truly have faith that He's going to come through for us, there's no reason to be afraid, because He's already, conquered this world, and He can do it. So just know that, like, if He gave you that dream and you're praying and going after it with His intentions and selflessly, then don't be afraid. Nothing should stop you. Even though you probably will be afraid.
Just do it anyway. Right. So let's see what other questions we have here. We got some fun questions.
Okay.
Like just for people who want to get to know you a little bit better. What is your favorite candy?
Oh, my favorite candy. It is York peppermint patties.
That's my favorite
Yes,
too. Yeah,
anything
those
with
are so
dark
good.
chocolate.
Your favorite movie?
Oh, I don't even know. I'm really bad with picking movies, but I'm going to have to say The Little Mermaid. I love that movie. And I was nannying a few girls a couple weeks ago, and they had it, and I was like, hey, you guys, do you think we could watch that movie? That's the one I want to watch. We watched it, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's so funny because my next question was going to be, who's your favorite Disney princess?
Yes, it would be Ariel, because she sang. So,
Right.
yeah, I loved it. When I was little, I would twirl around singing, and I tried to be a mermaid and stuff like that.
So where's the favorite place that you visited?
Probably Seattle. Besides Cambodia, that's like a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But Olivia and I went to Seattle a couple years back, and we had a blast. We went with our moms, and we did Creation out there, the festival, and we had so much fun. We just like went to all the seafood restaurants, and we it was a blast. I love Seattle, and it did not rain at all, so I was happy about that.
Very cool. So we have one last question. What is your favorite thing about doing ministry, going on mission trip, just everything you do? Like, what is the thing that makes you wake up in the morning and feel passionate about?
I like to see people joyful, and I feel like the most joyful people are the ones who are truly pursuing Christ with everything they have. Because I know I have friends and I have family who aren't at all following Him, and I mean, they may not be miserable, but they certainly don't walk in the peace and joy that I get to walk in. And so I would never want someone to, I don't know, wake up one day and be like, why didn't someone tell me that this was possible, that I could be this happy, that I could be this joyful, that I didn't have to feel so alone.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to know that.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
Thanks
your
for having
wisdom,
me.
and we're just so excited for the next issue that's coming out. You've actually written an article for it, so be sure to look for the Dreamers issue.